What's going on, everybody? Let's do a review. Rick Ross. Rick Ross is not only back, but apparently he's richer than he's ever been.
Well, that makes one of us.
First track is titled Little Havana, and Ross starts the album out with a spoken word from infamous Cuban cocaine kingpin Willie Falcone. Did you hear that alliteration?
Cuban cocaine kingpin.
I'm a rapper.
This is a simple, laid-back beat. It starts the album off all right, sets the tone. He's got a few good bars in it. It's an okay track. It's not really a standout to me. The next track we get into is the Pulitzer. Oh, excuse me.
Pulitzer.
This beat is like a simple one-bar loop. This has big, like, cypher freestyle energy. I actually like this one quite a bit, but you know, I am an audio engineer, so I feel like the vocals almost have like a slight distortion to them, or like maybe they were squashed too hard with a compressor. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Maybe that's just me, but I found it a little distracting. Then in Rapper Estates, we get another like one-bar loop sample, cypher type of vibe. This is one of my favorite feeling tracks, but the percussion feels a little odd to me. It comes in and out at odd times, then the bass hits like later than the rest of the percussion, which kind of takes away from the impact. Like for instance, the percussion comes in like 5 bars and 3 beats into the verse, then disappears, then comes back in the 6th bar, 4th beat, but without the bass. Bass doesn't come in until like bar 9. Then in Benny the Butcher's verse, percussion comes in like bar 2, but the bass doesn't come in until like bar 12. And to make things feel even more inconsistent and weird, in Rick's last verse, the percussion totally changes again, both in timing and in actual sound. It goes from this like old school drum set type of feel to this 16th note driven hi-hat electronic drum pad sound. I really do like the song. It just feels kind of weird and inconsistent. And I do feel like Rick Ross has some bars in the song though.
Prince Appeal, poppin', sippin', purple rain, ask me how I feel, I'll tell you I no longer feel the pain, kill the game, that's 300 for the chain, and it don't include the charm just to show you who the king.
Like those bars just have energy. They're almost really reminiscent of that signature like bouncy flow that Notorious B.I.G. is famous for, which it should be no secret that I'm a Biggie fan and I think that his flow is the greatest of all time. So anytime, whether consciously or unconsciously, I hear that, I'm gonna love it. And we get into Marathon, and I do like the instrumental. It's like this cool, opulent sounding string sample. Once again, he kind of forgoes the traditional chorus for a less structured freestyle cypher sort of vibe, which again, I really appreciate about this album, but this isn't one of my favorite tracks by any means. Doesn't really stand out too much. And then we get into one of my favorite tracks, Warm Words in a Cold World. This song is super dope. The percussion, the horn samples, the space that the beat gives them in the verses. The chorus is simple but catchy. The verses again stick to that cypher type of vibe, and though I'm not particularly impressed, who would have thought I don't hate Future here? I mean, I can think of a whole list of other rappers I think would have been better on the song, but I don't hate him, and that's progress. Overall, this song is one of the standouts to me. I liked it quite a bit. And we get into the song Wiggle, and I mean, the song is pretty good, but the chorus is kind of dumb. I do find it hilarious that in the credits, Jason Derulo got an interpolation credit because of the chorus, because, you know, Jason Derulo basically owns the word wiggle now. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then getting into Can't Be Broke, I'm just not a fan. This is one of the weakest tracks to me. I don't know who Youngin Ace is or what he is going on about in the intro, but the chorus is, the hook is weak. Lyrically, melodically, poetically, musically, all the lees. Kind of cringe to me. It's just not great. Kind of feels like he got really high and just like said something on the microphone. He's like,
Yeah, that's great. Let's stick with that.
which I feel like probably happens a lot with this style.
Say no to drugs, kids.
Then in Made It Out Alive, there aren't a lot of traditional choruses on this album, right? But this one does have one of the stronger ones for sure. And the bass line is so freaking dope. It is the lifeblood. It's the statement piece of this track. But it could have sounded so much better if they would have just recorded a live bass rather than a MIDI instrument. It lacked humanism. It was just too perfect sounding, too robotic, too artificial. And I wanted some attack on the string. I just wish they would have put in the extra effort because I think it really would have been worth it. That aside, it is a standout track to me, though the fade out seems a little abrupt, especially since there are tracks on here that take literally forever to fade out. Then we get to Outlawz, and I like the samples. The bass, again, is really dope. Jasmine Sullivan puts her foot in this, as always. The weird thing about this track to me is the vocals sound like they're mixed just totally different than the rest of the album. You know, I listened on like 4 different sources just to make sure I was hearing what I was hearing, and the vocals are just much more forward here, which isn't a bad thing in itself. But here, I think it just sounds more forward because it just needs re-EQ'd. My wife is usually totally oblivious to my my audio engineer gripes. But as soon as I brought up the vocal, she actually immediately agreed and said what she thought, which led me to believe, okay, it's not just me. I just thought it was kind of distracting because it feels dramatically different than how the vocals on the rest of the album are mixed. Otherwise, it's a decent track. Then we get into Imperial High, which isn't really a standout track, but it's not a bad track either. It's just kind of neutral. It needs something more. It needs a little more excitement. And the title track, Richer Than I Ever Been, I think is one of the weakest songs on the album in my opinion. The beat is alright and it fits into the same theme as the rest of the album, but to me the chorus is just a little lazy and repetitive and I kind of get tired of hearing it, so it is one of my least favorite songs. Then to cap off the album, we get into Hella Smoke with Wiz Khalifa, and I can't even tell you the last time I actually heard Wiz Khalifa, but he sounds exactly how I left him nearly a decade ago. You know, weed is legal in so many places now. I totally forgot how common weed tracks used to be. I mean, they used to be the joint.
I'll see myself out.
This really did feel pretty reminiscent of something I would hear in high school. Not a bad track, but again, not really a standout to me either. So with all that said, what are my final overall observations and what is my rating for this album? Well, let's find out. Wow, we ran through that pretty fast, and I don't have a watch on. So I want to establish that this isn't a bad album by any means. There's just a lot that I find to be missing for my taste. One of the first things I noticed when I was listening to it was that the album as a whole kind of lacked this energy, drive, and punch. Like, I wanted to be slapped in the face by some of these stronger tracks, but they were just a little more hollow than I expected. I found the mixing and mastering to be kind of lackluster sounding in spots and inconsistent to my ear. Not everyone is going to care about that, but like a lot of people I know, I'm just cursed in that regard, I guess. I really enjoyed the cypher kind of vibe that was going on, but several of the songs that did have traditional choruses, I felt that the choruses were kind of weak. And you know, Rick Ross didn't go too far outside the box, but he does still carry some of that typical classic Rick Ross energy in his voice, in his flow, and gave me a few quotable lyrics that I really like. All in all, the album felt fairly cohesive as a whole, stylistically. There are a few tracks that I might add to a playlist or two, and I did enjoy the album more than I expected, but I think it could have been better for my taste at least. So for that reason, I give this album a C-. Not bad, not great either. Music is very subjective. This is just what I hear, so I encourage you to form your own opinions. So what do you think? And what was your favorite track? Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Rick Ross, for giving me something to listen to this week. Don't forget to help me out and hit the like button if you even enjoyed this a little bit, and hit subscribe if you want to see more of my ugly mug. And as always, I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. Have a wonderful day.